Hi, I'm Shawn Mashey, and this video is about getting some radical relief in your relationships. We all know how painful relationships can sometimes be, and I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about the relationship with anything that takes place in your life, with the things that happen, with the way people show up and treat you, and with the ways that you treat them that you go into serious regret about, or fear that you will have alienated the very people who mean the most to you. Your children, your spouse, your friends, and especially for some of the people watching this who are in small business, your potential clients or the audience that you hope most to impact. So there's a lot that we all struggle with in some ways, and there are actually some pretty easy ways to see through the things that are really upsetting and scaring us that we just were never taught before. It just really wasn't part of what we all grew up understanding. And I'm here to share with you some pretty amazing ways to use the very things that upset you, that sadden or trigger or scare you, as your path right back out of that pain. And it is a very reliable thing once you realize what's going on, how much of a mirror these things are, and how they reveal your personal path. Really, the ways that you actually want to evolve yourself show up through these things that feel like the worst that can happen, and yet once you know what to do with them, they often turn into the best that can happen. A lot of freedom, a lot of peace, a lot of clarity, and mostly, especially, just like warmth with the people that you thought were the ones that were creating the problems. And finally, with yourself. That's where a lot of it really lies, is the ways that we're treating ourselves in our own mind, and that gets projected onto the outside world. So once we understand that the people and events in our lives are not the problem as much as what we're believing about them, things can really change. And I am not talking about that party line that says sort of you create your own reality and just manage your thoughts and you'll be fine. I am not talking about steamrolling over or affirming over the thinking that you find that ends up being what actually triggers your emotional reactions. I'm talking about sitting with the parts of you that truly believe those sometimes frightening concepts, disorienting concepts that don't match with reality anymore. It's a really young, small part of you that came up with those beliefs and continued to reinforce those, and society in many ways plays into a lot of them, and it really is some pretty strong programming we're up against. But there are some really simple ways to undo it, and it's what I call this paradigm shift, where you realize that we don't need to be afraid of the kinds of things that upset us, and the real terror and trauma we've experienced in relationships can actually turn into best friends. So whatever upsets you is holding the key, and that's what I call reliable symmetry. In fact, reliable symmetry of happiness, because for me it has just been my ticket out of so much pain, and particularly out of fear of the things that could happen that would put me back in those emotional states that I wouldn't know what to do with. But now that I will know what to do with them, it is truly living in a different paradigm. There are times I actually welcome the things that have the power to upset me, the ways people trigger me, the ways I can still be beating myself up for how I've shown up in relationship to others. It's just a different world now, and I invite you to join me to find out more about that in a webinar, a 3-part webinar with another Q&A and live facilitation event hosted by Susan Pierce Thompson, PhD, who is our wonderful brain scientist and also weight loss expert, sustained weight loss. And she has seen the real value of this work in helping out her own clients and herself, and wanted to host me as part of her program. So I'm excited to let you know that at the end of April we will be presenting this webinar, and we'll be letting you know more about that soon. Just click below to get more information, and can't wait to see you there. Take care. Thanks.